Hey everyone, Eric Malvin here, host of the Unfinished Business with Eric Malvin podcast. Welcome to episode 2. Happy December to everybody. Hope you guys are having a great month. And I'm really excited about today's episode. I wanted to take a little bit of time to set this one up because we actually did the interview a couple months back in September. So a little bit has changed since then, not much with this story though, because it's about family and legacy. And I got a chance to interview Rick Yancey, who is a part-time children's book author, and he's also a full-time events manager for a local utility company here in Phoenix. But he took this passion project of writing and illustrating a children's book, and he wrote it about his grandmother and turned it into something that touched people all over the world. And I also want to give him a shout out because after our interview in September, he went on to Los Angeles, walked the red carpet, and at the 2025 International Impact Book Awards, he won Author of the Year. Huge, incredible accomplishment for his book there. So, and if you're a business owner, you're wondering what have I got to do to listen to a children's book author? Well, there is a ton you could take away from this. Whether you're trying to grow your business, whether you're trying to get better at sales, or just figuring out how to put yourself out there, Rick's story is a great reminder what's possible when you start sharing what you care about, just like what we're doing here on Unfinished Business. And to make sure that you stick around to the end, you want to hear his answer to my question, what's your unfinished business? It's really one of the most moving parts of the whole episode. You won't want to miss it. So without further ado, let's get into my interview with Rick Yancey. And here we go.
Unfinished business. Where people in tech connect to amplify. Unfinished business. Human intelligence plus AI. Unfinished business. Moonshot goals that launch you high. Unfinished business. Listen close and you'll learn why.
I wanted to highlight my friend Rick here, and he's been doing some really amazing things. Started out writing children's books, and he's taken that to heights I never even imagined that you could take writing a children's book. And so wanted to bring Rick on. So Rick, why don't you introduce yourself and then tell people what you're working on.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Eric. Thank you for having me. First of all, I really appreciate this. This really means a lot. And, I'm happy with your success as well. And happy that I could be a guest on your show. My name is Ricardo Yancey Jr. I am the author and illustrator of the children's picture books, My Best Friend Granny, and Everything. And yeah, I started off with writing and illustrating children's books, and that happened. I got published 3 years, maybe 2 years ago, in September 10th on Grandparents' Day of 2023, which was the best day for launching your book about your grandparent. So, which was My Best Friend Granny. And yeah, now since then, we've transitioned over to turning that book that was well received by people not only here in Arizona, but worldwide. My first copy actually went to someone in the UK, and I couldn't even wrap my head around that really, because I expected it to be, maybe my mom would get a couple of copies and take it to work and share with coworkers, a couple of family members, but I didn't expect people to gravitate towards the story and relate to it as well as they did. So I knew I had something special there and wanted to take it even further and make an animated short film.
Oh yeah, and we're going to talk about that in a moment. But
Yeah.
the really awesome thing here is what I love, your background, right? Like you're not a children's book author, you're not an illustrator, right? What's your career?
So I'm an events manager at Arizona Public Service utility company here in Arizona, and travel all over the state. Any events that have APS attached to it, whether it's corporate or community, I'm involved with it and in charge of making sure the event flows smoothly and has everything that it needs for that event to be successful for both the community and APS. But I've been doing that for almost 20 years. And yeah, I didn't start off as thinking that I would be a children's book author, but ever since I was a kid, I've always been into art. I've always been into storytelling. And I think the storytelling part I get from my grandmother, but the art part I get from my mother. I can remember like it was yesterday, just sitting on the couch, and I probably was maybe 6, 7 years old. And my mom got an envelope, and she had a pen, and she drew a bicycle. And I remember seeing her draw that bicycle, and I just was so amazed that she had brought just the little scribble to life and it looked exactly like a bike. And I sat there and I drew that over and over till I got it right, till I got it exactly like hers. And I think I remember that far back. And I think that's where the passion for art came from. So I've always been illustrating, always been a storyteller. I did comic books in school. I'd get the notebooks and I'd come up with my own comic books and sell them to my friends at school and get
Oh,
like
you actually
25.
sold them.
Oh yeah,
How
man.
much how much would you sell them for?
That was like my hustle. It was like a quarter or 50 cents just so I could get an ice cream sandwich at lunchtime. And I would just make the comic book front and back, just like an actual comic book, and people would buy them. And sometimes they would bring in like Hanes white tees. And I would draw like I was a big comic book head, so I would draw like the X-Men or whatever they wanted on there, Batman, Superman, whatever. And I would just like draw on the back of the shirt and then they would pay me for it. So, I would have some extra ice cream money at lunchtime. So it's always something that I've been involved with ever since I was a kid.
That's awesome. And that's awesome. You know, the moment where you had that spark for your inspiration to get into that with your grandma there and the drawing the bike. What about the spark to actually go and make this children's book, you know? Because that's a big leap. You go from like
Oh, yeah.
drawing at home and the pictures just end up right there, or maybe you post them on social media, but to make the leap to I'm like all the actual like serious steps involved,
Yeah.
how did you make that jump?
So that kind of happened. So I know that when I was younger, I always said that I was going to write a book about my grandmother, but I didn't know what that would entail, what that would look like. But I would always tell her, even when we were going on our fishing trips and we're out there on the pier and it's nobody around and we're just talking. And she had like the best stories. And I would just be like, you know what, one day, Granny, I'm going to write a book about you. And she was like, oh, whatever. And I was like, no, no. And I would always say that even as I got older. But I knew at that time that I wanted to go through with that and keep that promise to her. So, I started writing the story and then illustrating from time to time. And then next thing I know, I had a couple of different pages, couple of different illustrations, and a lot of illustrations that didn't even make it into the book. So I knew that I was onto something. And then unfortunately, my grandmother, she passed away in 2017 from cancer. And I really didn't have a title for the book at the time. So I was at her funeral, giving her eulogy in front of like the entire audience of family members, loved ones, and friends that knew her, and just describing all of those times that I had with her, those special moments, that bonding that we had together. And I just said, it was kind of like she was my first best friend, actually. And then it was just like, bam, this big light bulb not only went off, it just exploded. It was just like,
While you were
that's
up
the
there talking?
Yes, like I
Wow.
knew it like right then. I was trying to come up with like different names, Adventures with Granny, and other titles that I was like not completely sold on. But then my best friend Granny came to me right then. It's kind of like organically, and it was like my grandmother was like talking to me, and she was like, "That's the one you need to use." It's kind of like that. So, and that's what I went with, and I'm glad I went with that title because it was the truth. She was my best friend. She was my first best friend. We did everything together. She taught like just like it said in the clip. She taught me how to shoot my first basketball. She was an athlete, so she played basketball. She played softball. She was in a bowling league. She always stayed active. She did everything like outdoors. She was an outdoorsman with fishing and gardening and planting trees. And I always wanted to be next to her when she was like doing all those things. And she taught me a lot about those specific things. So, but then I had the title and waited a while because after she had passed, I didn't want to get back into really drawing or writing anymore. It was just, I kind of left me a little bit. And then it was one day that I was at Barnes and Noble with my kids, and I always take them to get a book after they finish the one book that they had last time. And while they're out in the bookstore trying to get their next book, I'm in the children's book section and I'm just looking at the shelves and just admiring. As an artist, you admire other people's artwork and looking at different covers. And so I was just like, man, maybe I could do this one day. And then like my daughter comes up and she's like, Dad, you can do this. Your book could be up here. And my oldest son, Christopher, he comes up, he's like, yeah, Dad, your stuff could be up here, and it kind of lit a fire under me, and they motivated me to go through with it. But I didn't know how all of that was gonna like start. I didn't know where to start, actually. My oldest child, my daughter, Chloe, she was just like, Dad, you need to put your stuff on social media. All the different platforms, there's so many different eyeballs that see this stuff all over the world. And I was like, yeah, I think I'll put a couple of things, but I felt so old, like, oh, you mean the old Facebook, and she was right. She was right because I put a couple of different pieces of art from the book, not showing the entire thing, but just like little things here and there that showcased. They were little snapshots of my memories with my grandmother. And next thing you know, I had a publisher reach out that said they related to the story because not only did they like the artwork, they were also raised by their grandmother. So they were able to relate to the story. And next thing I know, they wanted to talk to me the following Thursday on a Zoom call, and I was published within like the next couple of weeks. It was just
Wow.
it was so crazy.
Have you talked to other authors? Is that not a common path? Because it seems
Yeah,
like people got to struggle
100.
a bit more to get to that level.
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't happen like that. It doesn't. And I had no idea. I never really did my research and looked into like how that all went about and step by step how to pursue it. But there's like so many different publishing houses, and sometimes, you send in your book and your stories and they don't even get back to you. And then more times than not, they get back to you and say, actually, thank you for sending this in, but not at this time. And so it was just like, it was unconventional. It was like nothing that's happened, especially I wasn't expecting it. I was just like putting my art out there just to see like what happens and if people actually enjoy it. If, like who knows? Maybe somebody might see it and want me to draw for their children's book or something. Who knows? But yeah.
Well, it definitely grew well beyond, just a couple posts on social media. I want to play this clip to show you guys watching here at home just that, yeah, it got pretty big. Let's check it out. Awesome. So what's really cool about this book has continued to grow, right? Like you've actually gone on to work on some more stuff, but this book isn't going away. So tell me what's been happening lately with the story.
So, like I said, it was 2 years ago when I came out with this book. And now we're in September, right? So it's like we're about to hit Grandparents' Day again. But so many people have had an emotional response to it and a connection to it. From like the reviews to like the reviews in Amazon to comments on social media, people saying, oh my God, this is what I used to do with my grandmother, or this is what I used to call my grandmother. I called her Mima instead of Granny, and just little things like that, that little special moments that not only are something that they can connect with their child or grandchild, but it's for both of them, not only the adults, but the children as well. You can be 6 years old or 60, and it has a message for everybody, I think. Whether it's creating those new memories with your grandchild or your kid, or just bringing back that nostalgia of like for the parent when they grew up and eating their favorite meals and doing their favorite things, their favorite activities with their grandparents. So I knew that I was going to want to turn that into an animated short film. And yeah, so I immediately did my research on that and did a couple of workshops. And one of the workshops was with Erica Alexander. She had like a live that she was doing on Instagram, just talking about her company, Color Farm, and her partnership with another company and what they do for actors and just different tips to follow and if you wanted to get into this business. And so I was just like, I'm a fly on the wall. I'm just listening. And I just typed in, I saw people typing in like where they were from and what their question was. And I said I was from Arizona. And she said, oh my God, Arizona, I see you. I'm from Arizona. And Erica Alexander, I grew up watching her on sitcoms, on TV, like The Cosby Show when she was Cousin Pam, Living Single when she was Maxine Shaw, attorney at law. So I grew up watching these shows, and now like I'm connecting with her on her chat during this live. And I didn't even know she was from Arizona. And she was like, yeah, okay, Arizona, I see you. And I was just like, I have to ask my question. And while the iron's hot, right? So I just typed in, hey, I'm thinking about doing an animated short film about my children's book. How do I go about pursuing something like that? And finding like an animator, and she answered it right there and told me what I needed to do. Just like find an animator that's just as passionate about the project as you are. And there's plenty of animators out there. Just make sure that you're comfortable with the right one. And I said, thank you so much. And that was like last part of 2024, I think. And I was just like, I couldn't believe it. I was just like, man, she answered my question live. She didn't have to do that. There were plenty of other people that were in that live on Instagram. So I felt very, very blessed that she saw that. And then I went on to find an animator who actually worked for Disney. He worked on the Marvel show Moon Girl. He worked at Nickelodeon for Bubble Guppies. So everybody with a kid knows that show because that Bubble Guppies was a fan favorite here in my house, especially when my kids are little. And so he had the background, and he was raised by his grandmother as well, while his mom was a teacher at like a university. So while she was away at school teaching students, grandma watched him and his brother. So he
Everyone
related
had
to
a
that.
tie into the story.
Yeah, it's just like it's amazing the people that I've met so far that have that same connection, that same background as I did growing up with just your mother worked and your grandmother was there to provide childcare. So I found the animator, and we instantly connected, bonded, and I was like, okay, well, we got to start building this thing. While we were building it from the ground up, I wanted to reach out to Erica and let her know that I really appreciated the advice. And so I sent her an email, and I was just like, if she doesn't read it, I'm sure her inbox is overpopulated with all types of stuff because she's an actress, right? She was just in American Fiction, the Oscar award-winning American Fiction movie last year with Jeffrey Wright. And now she's on Invasion on Apple TV. She's a character on there, and she has the Reliving Single podcast talking about all those episodes from the sitcom back in the day. So I know she's a busy person, and when I sent her a thank you, she immediately got back to me. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, I knew if I ever were to do a movie about this book, I would love for her. Like I said, I'm a big fan of hers, and she has a very distinct voice. I knew I would love to have her play as my mother, voice my mother in the movie. It would be so special to me. And so I asked her, and she got back to me, and she was like, okay, send me a script and I'll read it over. I'm not making any promises. I was like, oh, just you reading it is just as good as gold to me.
Yeah.
So I said, absolutely. And that night, I had already had everything that my mom was going to say in the short film in my head, a little bit on paper, but I finished her part that night and I sent it. And I didn't hear from her in like maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks. So I was just like, well, she said she's not going to make any promises. I was just appreciative of the advice. And then she got back to me and she was like, I love this. I love your writing, and I want us to set up a meeting for Monday. And it was a Friday. And I was like, absolutely. Set the meeting up, a Google meeting. And that next following Monday, I'm on the meeting. I get there early, obviously. And I was just like very, very nervous. And because I had not talked to her face to face, I've
Yeah.
only communicated with her through email and through the chat on Instagram. Like I've never spoke to her or
So
seen
the
her in
nerves
person. Yeah.
nerves
So
going on before the Zoom, like, oh
right.
man, here we go.
Exactly. So it was just like I didn't know how this was all gonna play out. And so the meeting starts and it's at 10, and then it's at 10:05, and then it's like 10:07, 10:15. I was just like, oh. And that's when it kind of hit me. Like I started thinking, I was like, I never really spoke to her, and maybe I'm being catfished here. Like maybe it's instead of typing like Erica Alexander, I typed Eric Alexander, and this guy is like,
All the thoughts going through your head, which I'm sure
everything.
the business people listening here are like, yeah, the mistyped email, which happens. I've done that,
It happens.
the wrong
100%.
email, like, where is this person at? And then you go like, oh my gosh, I put the wrong email in.
Yep. You go back and you see that typo and you're just like, so that's what I felt like I did. And as I just stay on the meeting, and as I'm doodling there, like I always do, just drawing, the screen pops up and it's her. And I'm just like, oh my God. In my head, I'm like that. But like, I'm like, Miss Alexander, and she's like, Ricardo, I'm so sorry. I double booked you today. Please forgive me. Look, I just wanted to let you know I looked at the script, I read it. I'm trying to find like the flow and the vibe of like how I'm supposed, and even the cadence of like how I'm supposed to like read these lines, and I want you to tell me a little bit about your mom, and this is what I have so far. And she started to read it. She started to read the script. Something that I typed. The words, she brought them to life by speaking them in the meeting, and it sounded, yeah, it plays in my head, but hearing it in person, like even on a call, like something like this, where she's bringing those words to life, and I just got goosebumps, man. It was just like I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. So she said that she was going to do the movie, and I just was very appreciative. But that's where it all started, and
That's
not
a
only
amazing
with
story.
her, yeah, not only with her, we have Gary Dordan, who was on A Different World back in the day, CSI. He was in movies, Jumping the Broom, and he's a musician as well, like traveling all over doing his music, and he still acts, and he's reading the part of me in the film, like the father part. So these little pieces, from like the animator to the voice talent from these amazing actors and actresses, it's just a little surreal. So, but yeah, that's how it all started, and that's where we're at right now. So we're in the first phase of production and trying to get it done so that the world can see it.
Cool. And again, because I know a lot of business people are watching, since it's on my business channels here, but
Yeah.
interesting parallels that I'm hearing here, because I know you're not in sales. I know that for your job,
No.
where, like some of the stuff that you're doing, a lot of the steps, there's so like great sales practices. It's so awesome. Like the stuff that I
I
hear
appreciate.
people give advice for, like, how do you connect with that one company you want to bring on as a client? It's the
Yeah.
stuff that you're doing. You hop on, their live videos and comment, and connect with
Yeah.
them, and you be real, and you follow up. And then when they say, hey, let's set up a meeting, you didn't just sit around for a couple weeks. I got to make this thing perfect. You're like, boom, instantly got to get it to them. So many
Yeah.
good lessons in there that you've done,
Absolutely.
which, that's what separates also, like, why are you here today telling a story? It's because of that. You
Yeah.
push forward, when the opportunity came, you jumped on it and you moved ahead and
100%.
tried to make it
Yep.
happen. So I just want to tie
Yeah,
that to
man.
the people watching. Like, how do maybe they got some story in their head, or the business they want to start, and it's taking actionable steps, actually doing
Yeah.
something about it instead of just talking about it, which is what you did
Yeah.
here. So that's cool.
Absolutely. And just know that just being yourself, it's nothing wrong with that. And but doing things right at the moment, doing them now, because we don't know what tomorrow brings. It's a very short life. If you think about it, and you don't want to look back on like, gosh, I wish I would have. I pressed send on that email that I was going to send to say thank you. I wish I would have got to that and did that. No, you did it right then. As soon as you thought about it, like, you know what? I'm going to send an email to Erica and thank her for that. And that led to all of this. It's just taking that step, taking that action, not just like putting it on the back burner, just trying to make things happen the best way you can and be yourself. Don't try to be somebody else that you think they might want to hear. Just be who you are and let it happen organically. And it's worked out so far. So I think I'll
I
keep
agree.
I'll keep being myself and doing those things and following my own advice. Because yeah, it's if you don't do it, you're just gonna be thinking about it later and just like regretting everything.
Well, that's why I wanted to share this, this story with everyone too, because how many people are out there again just living their life like you didn't have to change careers. You're still working at APS. You're still
No,
doing that. Like, and in fact, yeah, this isn't like you can go quit your job now. Like you're children,
right?
like you
No,
still have like there's still full-time work. So for the
yeah,
people out there, like there's nothing holding anybody back from going and doing any of this. Like you could go out and like you want to try to get Tom Cruise to be the voice of your character? Sure, why
yeah,
not? Like that's shooting for the moon,
yeah.
but why not make it happen? Go like cuz you never know. It's a that's the story here I want people to
You
to
never
see
know.
from Rick here is where you
Yeah,
could take things, and it's not amazing people that have super like crazy talents that nobody else has. It's like everyday
right.
people that are doing this that are everyone's got skills and talents that could be
Yeah,
put out there that people are holding back, which means they're not
yeah,
fully being their self too. Because
right.
if you're super talented and you love showing your art with everybody or you love doing whatever and you're not doing it, you're holding yourself back.
You're holding
So,
yourself back. And if you're truly passionate about something that you've been passionate about for a long time, it's just you feel like you never have the time. Find the time. Find it. Like
yeah,
there
here's some advice. Go look at your screen time on your phone and take
there you
one
go.
hour a day out
Yes.
of that and put it towards this, or 30 minutes a day, or even 10 minutes a day. And how
Even
much
10,
further?
20 minutes. Exactly. Because that's how it starts. Just that little bit of time, it builds. And then next thing you know, you're doing something that you love and that you can talk about with anybody. I have a problem with public speaking sometimes, but
Hmm.
being an events person, you're more like in the background of the event. You're behind the scenes, And what I've noticed with this, it's brought me out of my shell a little bit with the whole public speaking thing because it's something that I'm passionate about and I love talking about it. I love talking about my grandmother and all the great times that we have. And I think I feel like I keep her memory alive too. And it allows me to talk about those moments because, like, there was a moment after she passed away where all those memories started to fade a little bit. And it just, I wasn't prepared for that. I would talk to my mom. I was like, where did we go for that fishing trip that one year? And because she's not here anymore and you're not able to call her up and say, hey, and just talk about those things. After she passed, it started to just fade. And now, since I've completed the book, if I need to go back to that memory, if I need to go back to that snapshot of those good times, all I have to do is just open a page in that book and I'm right there again. So it's really the book finding and completing this passion just like brought so much out of me that I didn't know that I could do. And I really appreciate it how it just like helped me with like those phobias that I had, especially with public speaking. And now I catch myself talking in an interview or a podcast like this. I can just be myself and be comfortable. And I think my passion project, which was this children's book, helped me through that. So it might be a little hidden message or a lesson in there whatever you do and you just don't know it. You just have to try and then you'll see. So yeah,
Oh yeah,
it's
one
crazy
million
how
percent.
that materialized.
Agree. It's awesome you created this legacy for your grandmother. They say people die what, two deaths, when you actually physically die and when
Yeah.
people stop talking about you or they never
Yeah.
mention you or think about you again. And
Right.
you've now put your granny in the hearts and minds of people all over the world who are not going to
Oh,
forget about her. So that's a pretty crazy thought to think about.
yeah. She would have if she was still here, she would be having like the best time right now. She would say one of her favorite things to say was, "Boy, ain't that something." And I think she would say that with everything that's happened with the book and now the animated short film that we're trying to put together. So
Which I got a link up on the screen and we'll get link wherever we post this so you can find it
okay.
easily. But you've got a GoFundMe going on to help, and I'll keep putting it up here. So tell us about the GoFundMe.
So everything that goes into a movie from the pre-production, the production, post-production, all that behind the scenes stuff from getting color artists to obviously the animator to sound design, all these pieces that come together that make this puzzle complete. And we just have so many people that are involved, and we want to make sure that this film is at the best quality that it should be. So we made a GoFundMe, and as of right now, we're actually over 2Ks with the
Whoa.
donations from everybody that has put towards the supported the project. But yeah, and we also have teamed up with Glow Frame Initiative, which is a local nonprofit here in Arizona. So the money that goes towards the film not only supports the film, but it goes towards a local 501c3 here in Phoenix and goes back into the community where Glowframe actually helps youth with video production stuff, all the stuff that goes into movies, from art direction to handling different types of cameras and being the behind the scenes stuff and making films. That helps youth around Phoenix and Arizona just be a part of that, where they might not be able to do that financially, and I love that part about Glowframe and really appreciate them coming on and partnering with us as a fiscal sponsor. So, but yes, all the money that is donated, a portion of that goes back into the community. So we're just trying to make this the next animated short film that you could possibly see in front of your next Pixar movie, or you're playing in the front of your next Disney film. So
Oh man,
I
that'd
really
be
think
awesome.
that we have because blacks and African Americans especially have the highest percentage of grandparents staying in the home and providing childcare for the grandchildren. So, and I was a product of that, especially in the South and the 80s and 90s. So I don't think there's very many films or animated short films rather that talk about that subject. And I think this would be a first. And I would love to share it with the world and just have people just continue to, you know, think about being there for their grandparents, because they're not here for a long time. As you get older, especially teenagers, you don't hang out with grandparents as much. It's like you got these new friend circles, you're growing up, you're coming of age, and I think this will help people, especially young people, just notice that, hey, I got to give Granny a call today. It might make her day if I do that, which I talk about in the book. But yeah, that's basically what the GoFundMe is about. Just trying to get support on the film and make it to its highest quality that we can make it. So
Awesome. And how much longer do people have to donate to the GoFundMe?
So no time limit as of right now. We are trying to set at least by November of this year, just so that we have everything together step by step with production. Like I said, we're in the first phase of production right now at the moment, which is basically getting the animatic together, getting all the illustrations. We have all the voiceovers that we need, and my son is actually going to be voicing my
Ooh,
younger self, which is
that's so
pretty
cool.
pretty cool, to get him involved in that certain way and read as my younger version of me from the 80s and 90s. And but yeah, we have all of those pieces that we're trying to get together. Whatever you can provide or support, it would be truly, truly appreciated. And um, this doesn't happen without the help of your community. And so that's why I wanted to reach out to everybody and possibly get their support.
Yeah. So hopefully, if you're watching here, you guys can donate to this amazing cause, and also keep an eye on when this thing gets released. Maybe you'll see it before a big Pixar movie. As the show that happens before. Sometimes you never know.
We hope, man. We hope.
Or like I keep talking, I know, without tying it back to this K-pop Demon Hunter thing. I don't know if your kids are all into that, but
No, man.
you never
Yeah.
know what's going to take off. Like
You
those
never
people
know.
had no idea that before the
Right.
summer started that they would be sitting on like one of the biggest soundtracks and movies of all time. So you
Yes.
don't know what that'll turn into.
Yeah, you never know. And I just have a good feeling about this, and just the people that have related to the story and had an emotional response to it. I knew then that we were onto something, and that it was a story that needed to be told. So, we'll see what happens.
Awesome. Well, we're getting ready to launch a podcast here called Unfinished Business with Eric Malvin. And
Let's
when
go.
yeah, and I want to end every interview with a question. And so I'm testing out the question, and so I'm going to test it out on you.
Oh, perfect.
Everyone out there has got some unfinished business. And something that they want to achieve in their life that they still haven't done. And even as crazy of the stuff that you've achieved here, what is it that you still want to achieve? What's some unfinished business that you can share with the audience here that you want to do sometime in your life still?
Oh man, it's always I always want to be the best dad I can be. Like better than my philosophy is I just want to be better than yesterday. And I grew up in a single parent home where my mom worked two jobs to keep a roof over our heads and food on the table. And I didn't have a father figure around. I was lucky and blessed enough to have my grandmother. And I just want to be a great dad for my children. And all this stuff that I'm doing, from the children's book to the animated short film and whatever I'm blessed enough to have after that, I do it for them. So I just want to be the best dad I can be.
Oh, that's
And
an
that's
awesome goal.
yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Well, I appreciate you sharing your story here with our audience and let me test out some of this podcasting stuff as we getting ready to roll this out. And I don't know, we're hitting the 41-minute mark, so this might end up being one of the episodes.
Hey,
Unless you got, but
I'm
maybe by the time
I
we get you
appreciate the
back on,
time.
there'll be a bunch more stories to tell, and then we'll have to do another one. So we'll see.
Yeah, you just reach out to me, man. I'm there for you, brother. So I can't thank you enough for this opportunity. So I appreciate it because you're doing big things, man. And I like to support friends, and for you to support me back with this whole thing means a lot, bro. Means a lot.
Cool. Appreciate it. If people want to follow you, follow the story, where can they find you?
Just find me on Instagram, Ricardo Yancey Jr. out of Instagram, and you see the journey of the book from the very beginning to now, to with everything going on with the film, to just little clips and reels of stuff with Erica Alexander, with Gary Darden. I have a comic strip that I have on there called The Awkward Life of the Rising Sun. And it's something that I've always been wanting to do ever since I was a kid. So I hope people like that comic strip, and it kind of takes you back to like the Sunday funnies when you would get them with the newspaper. I don't even know if they do that anymore because
It's a
everything.
good question.
Yeah. So, but it's just a throwback to that. So yeah, but Instagram, hit me up on there and just check out the journey and keep supporting. I
And if they
appreciate
want
it.
a book, where do they find your books?
So you can find a book wherever books are sold, Amazon and barnesandnoble.com, walmart.com. So yeah, wherever books are sold. The books I have out there right now are My Best Friend Granny, obviously, and my latest book that I came out with called Everything. But yeah, reach out and leave a comment, and please continue to support.
Awesome. Thanks again, Rick, for sharing everything with everyone here. Appreciate it. And yeah, and if you like stories like this and you want to hear more from me, at Biz with Eric is where you can find me. And I'm going to be posting more on my podcast there very soon. So stay tuned. But thanks, guys. We'll see y'all later.
Thank you.